Okay, welcome everyone. Today's topic is the offer, the traps, the pitfalls, what you need to pay attention when making offers. What would it take for your offer to get accepted in this seller's market? Okay, so let's go over an example. We're going to go over the contract so that you pay attention as to what's really critical for you to get the offer accepted. Not only that, but what you should not give up when making an offer. Okay, so we're going to take as example this property in Glenwood. This property was recently purchased by one of our cash flow members, Ray Young. So he paid $140,000 for this property and in as-is condition. Okay, so let's quickly go over the pictures and then so that you can assess your rehab. Okay, because we're going to look at the numbers briefly. We're going to look at the market for this particular property, and then I'm going to show you how you can quickly make an offer on the property to get it accepted. What does it take? Okay, so let me show you the pictures. As you can see, it's a frame house. This is the inside. It's a split level. So it's got carpeting here. Windows are in just okay condition. That's the living area. This is the kitchen. The cabinets, as you can see, they're dated, and so are the appliances. Okay. In here, this is the lower basement. Yeah, this is the basement. This is a big living space. And in here, so it's got 2 bedrooms on the first level and 2 bedrooms in the second or basement, and 1.5 baths. Okay, so this is the second bedroom upstairs on the first floor. This is the third bedroom downstairs. This is the full bathroom upstairs. As you can see, it needs some updating. It's a little bit dated. This is the half a bath downstairs, and this is the outside, the backyard. Okay, so let's quickly go over this property. Okay, it was listed for $140,000. By the way, there's a mistake on the square footage. 775,000. They were not taking into account the split level or the lower level. So technically, it's not a basement; it's a split level home. So technically, this is about 1,500 square feet. So now the question is, if you want to make an offer and get it accepted, what does it take? So let's take step number 1. You have to understand the area. What type of area are you getting into? And before you do that, you need to know yourself, what am I going to do? Am I going to flip? Am I going to wholesale? Am I going to buy and hold? Okay. In this case, Ray is interested in building his rental portfolio. So he's focusing on BC neighborhoods that are cash flowing, okay? Meaning that you can afford to buy a home for less than $200,000, yet the rents are high, meaning $1,500 and up, okay? So Glenwood, in a nutshell, it's a C neighborhood and it's a cash flow area. So when I go to ChicagoDealVault and then I go to area reports, I'm gonna look for Glenwood. So right here, it tells me Glenwood, Cook County, it's a C neighborhood, cash flow. The approach is cash flow. So that means that you can buy reasonably single family homes under 200,000, and yet the rents are somewhere in the 1,500 range, okay? So if I scroll to the right, median rental income for a 3-bedroom is $1,525, okay? This is slightly bigger, so it's got 4 bedrooms. Technically, 2 on the first level and then 2 on the split level, the bottom level, another 2. So technically 4-bedroom house. So now, if you want to get this on the contract, what does it take? Okay, this is advice number 1. First of all, you need to know your numbers. Okay, so what do we mean by that? You need to know how much to offer. In this case, the property was for sale for $140,000. Okay, so the question is, how much are you going to offer? So this is the purchase price or asking price. Now, seller's market, things are selling off the shelf. So if you want to find out if this is a great deal, the rule of thumb that I shown you in the past is to add 80 to 100,000 to the asking price. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 80,000. Okay, so by doing that, the ARV should be at least how much? 220K. Okay. If the ARV is nowhere near 220, then it doesn't make sense. This property appraised for 217. Okay. And we believe is low. So this property will appraise somewhere in the 230. Once all the work is done, then this property should appraise for somewhere in the 230. So therefore, this is a great deal. So condition number one, add about $80,000 to $100,000 to the purchase price, and that's condition number one. Number two, the rehab, okay, should be less than 50,000. So let me ask you on the line, how much do you think the rehab is going to be? So in here, Ray is going to do the kitchen, the bathrooms, flooring, paint. He's going to do the windows, and that's about it. He doesn't need to do plumbing, electric, HVAC. So those are huge, right? And roof. He doesn't need to touch those 4 systems. That's huge. So again, all he's going to need to do, kitchen, bathrooms, flooring, windows, paint, some light fixtures, and perhaps some light plumbing, light electric, but nothing big. So you don't need to upgrade the service panel. You don't need to upgrade the plumbing system. You don't need to touch the HVAC. You don't need to touch the roof. So what's your guess on the line for the rehab? What would you say? Elena, 25,000. Anybody else? Anybody else? Any guesses? Remember, keep in mind, square footage is about 1,500. I am getting 20,000, 20,000. Anybody else?
And 35,000.
35, okay, very good. Anybody else? Sam, how much did you say?
35.
35, 26. Okay, so let me tell you the rule of thumb to compute the rehab, and this has worked immensely well, over 90% accuracy. Okay, so we take the square footage of the property, so it's about 1,500, okay, because you have 2 levels, right? 1,500 times $20 or 2, that's about 30,000, and we always have to add about 10,000 cushion. So my guess is that it's going to be at least 40,000. Okay, even though it's sort of like a medium rehab, the minute you touch the kitchen and the bathrooms, it's a medium rehab. So at least it's going to hit 35 to 40,000. Now, since he's doing the windows, right, just for the windows, it's going to be 6,500, okay? So the budget that he's got is 45,000, okay, for the rehab. He's going to put in 45,000 for the rehab. Ray likes to do top notch, okay? So probably we could get away with anywhere between close to 40,000, max 45,000, but he's accounting for 45,000, and that includes the windows. Now, 20,000, I saw many 20,000, 25,000. That is very low. Let me just tell you, doing the kitchen alone, if you're doing brand new cabinets, stainless steel appliances, the countertop, right there, plus light fixtures, flooring, right there in the kitchen, you're going to spend about 10,000. Appliances is 3,500. The countertop, it's about 1,500. Right there, you have 5,000. Kitchen cabinets, maybe 2,500. That's 7,500 plus labor. Okay, so you're going to spend at least 10 to 12,000 in the kitchen. Paint for a property this size is about 4,000. So 20,000 will just go extremely fast. So that is why 20,000 would only apply if we are just updating the kitchen and the bathroom. What I mean by that is resurfing or repainting the kitchen cabinets, reusing the same cabinets and just doing appliances. And then for the bathroom, just changing maybe the vanities, and that's about it. So when you do super light updating in the kitchen and bathrooms, you can hit the $20,000-$25,000. But in this case, Ray's redoing bathrooms and kitchens. So that is why a bathroom is going to be at least $6,000. So the budget will quickly add up. So that is why 45,000, it's very realistic to spend on this property. And don't forget, curb appeal. You always need to do some landscaping. That's about 1,500 or so, just to make it look very nice on the outside. Okay, so 45,000. Now, to get this offer accepted, it makes sense to offer full price because this property will easily appraise for 80 to 100,000 on top of the asking price, and the rehab is less than 50,000. So for him to get this offer accepted, he made an offer for 140,000. Okay. Now the earnest money, he offered $5,000 earnest money. Okay. Typically, it's going to be anywhere from 4,000 and up, between 4,000 to 10,000 earnest money that you need to put down for you to get the offer accepted. And something that is super critical when making an offer is that you have to add credibility to your offer. So it's not only the asking price or full asking price that you're offering, your earnest money needs to be up there anywhere between 4,000-5,000 and up. And let's talk about contingencies, right? So he is using a hard money lender. So this is something that all of you need to understand. When you're using a hard money lender, the lender needs to do an appraisal on the property. So there will always be a contingency, okay? He's gonna need to put down, he put down 10% to purchase the property. So 10% is 14,000 plus closing expenses. He brought in plus earnest money. He brought into the table 22,000, okay, to purchase the property. And on the offer, you have to have the contingency. So when you use hard money lenders, it's not cash, okay? When you use private money lenders, you can make it as cash offer. But in this case, since he offered full asking price and 4,000 or 5,000 earnest money, then he was able to get the offer accepted. And most importantly, the closing date was within 3 weeks. Okay, hard money lenders can make that happen. Or if it's a private money lender, it's even quicker. You can close in as little as a week, week and a half. Hard money lenders, you need about 3 weeks. Why? Because they need to schedule an appraisal. So that's how he was able to get it accepted. Now, something that is super important that a lot of investors make a mistake on is that they just make a blind offer. Okay, so let's assume that we analyze the numbers, right? And through ChicagoDealVault, I can make the offer in 30 seconds. If we submit that to the listing agent, 100% of the time, your offer will be off. Either it will be too high or too low, or it will have the wrong terms. So what you always need to do is, whether you have a broker or not, you always need to talk to the listing agent, either through your broker or you call the listing agent and find out exactly what they're looking for in the offer. So you always want to negotiate the offer verbally before you put it in writing. You put it in writing once you lock the deal verbally, okay? Because otherwise you're gonna be going back and forth. And when you go back and forth, you're gonna be losing days going back and forth. And guess what? Another investor can come right behind you and build rapport and give them the offer they've been looking for. Okay, so it's super important that you always get the offer accepted verbally. And for you to do that, either through your broker, or if you don't have a broker, you talk to the listing agent to find out exactly what they're looking for. The number one aspect to get it accepted, obviously, is the price. So price is number one. Number two, the terms of the offer. Earnest money, $5,000, that makes it strong, and also closing date. When exactly do they want to close on the property? The property might be occupied by the owner, so they may need time to move out. So they may want you to close in 6 weeks, maybe 2 months. So you need to accommodate for that. Or they may want to close as soon as possible. And once you know the terms, the price, obviously full asking price, in this case makes sense, earnest money and closing date, then let's talk about contingencies. What are the contingencies that you should never give up, okay? Even if you buy the property as is, okay? I'm gonna show you where the as is clause is on the contract. You never wanna give up the inspection attorney review. So you have 5 business days once the offer gets accepted and signed by the seller to do an inspection and review by the attorney, okay? You never wanna give that up, okay? Because you always need to do an inspection on the property by a professional inspector so that you know what you're getting into. Even though you're gonna rehab most of the property, you always need to do an inspection because you never know what you're gonna find out. You may not be able to see certain things that the inspector will. So they're gonna focus on the big ticket items, right? That you may not be aware of. So for instance, they might find asbestos. They might find humidity in the walls. They might find cracks in the foundation. They might find big ticket items that you need to be aware of, and then decide whether you want to get credit, whether you want to move forward with the deal. That is why you never want to give up the inspection period. And then as far as the contingency for the mortgage, again, if you're using a hard money lender, you need to have a contingency. Why? Because assuming that the lender sends an appraiser and it does not appraise, then you won't get the money. So you want to make sure that your earnest money is secured, right? So the lender is going to issue a denial letter stating that the property didn't appraise, and then you're going to be okay. But if you waive the mortgage contingency, guess what? Your earnest money is in jeopardy. So again, if you're using a hard money lender, you need to always have a mortgage contingency. Whereas if you're going to use a private money lender, meaning somebody that is going to give you the money, then it's like a cash offer. So how can we find the listing agent? Okay, Ram, it's very simple. It's going to be in ChicagoDealVault. We have, so I looked up the property. So if I go to the details right here, we're gonna give you right here, the listing agent, the office, the contact information, and the email. Everything that you need to know about the listing agent is right here. So I looked up in the power search right here, power search. I looked up the address and then boom. We found all the details about the property, the pictures, and so forth. Oh, look at this. In this case, it's showing the MLS is showing the right square footage, whereas Redfin is not. Redfin is showing 775, so that's incorrect. So the right square footage is 1550. Okay. So this is where you find the listing agent information. Okay, now how to make an offer on this property. So once we find the property through ChicagoDealVault, you can look up any property, we'll find it, whether it's MLS, off market. We have a button right here, make an offer. Okay, so in here, there are just 3 things that you're gonna specify. How much are you gonna make an offer for? So I'm gonna make it for 140, 1, 2, 3. When you're gonna close, and remember, this is based on your conversation with the listing agent or with the seller. Okay, so you're gonna close end of October, and then earnest money, you're gonna put down 5,000. That's a property address. So again, cash transaction, it's not a cash transaction if you're using a hard money lender. Okay, as is. Okay, as is means that You're not waiving the right of inspection, but even after the inspection, let's say you may find some issues, right? You're not going to be able to get any credit. Once you say as is, you get what you see today, okay? So you won't be able to get any credits. So that's all negotiable. We've used the as is several times to get the deal on the contract, okay? Dual agency means that the listing agent is representing you in the transaction as well. So if you don't have a broker working for you, then you can call the listing agent and say, hey, would you mind representing me in the transaction? They'll be happy to do so. Why? Because they're going to make double the commission. They're going to get paid on the listing side and then on the buying side. So instead of making 2.5%, they're going to make 5%. So it's always a great idea, if you're not represented by a broker, to talk to the listing agent and do dual agency. For now, we're going to leave that off. So when you click on submit offer, we will generate the 7.0 contract immediately in seconds for you. So it's right here. So it's going to have your company name. Now, something that is super important right here, and or assigns, okay? So when you make an offer, it's going to have your company name or your name. I highly suggest that you use your company name for liability purposes as a protection. So it's always best to buy real estate under your company name. And then you always put this clause, and or assigns. This clause will allow you to sell the rights of this contract to an end buyer, meaning you're going to be able to wholesale the property, okay? What it means is that if you change your mind and you don't want to buy this property, guess what? Perhaps somebody else wants to buy the property. If you got it on there a great price, let's say 140, and then you decide you're not going to buy the property, it's okay, because then we can help you find an end buyer, an investor, a cash buyer, or you can find one yourself and resell the rights of the contract. Instead of 140, you sell it for maybe 145. So you make a $5,000 assignment fee. Okay, so that is super important. The next section in the contract specifies the property address. We're going to pre-fill everything for you. Okay, so that's the property address. And then in here, we are going to specify the purchase price. Okay, so this is the number one objection from sellers, right? They want to obviously maximize their profit return, so they want to get at least asking price. So if the property is worth, boom, asking price, earnest money, $5,000. Now, your job is to secure that money through the contingencies that I'm gonna show you below, okay? So in here, closing date, October 30th. So this is something that you negotiate verbally before you put it in writing, okay? It's not up to you when you close, it's up to the seller. So you want to close on the seller's time frame. This is, again, for you to get the deal on the contract, okay? And then this is where we do the mortgage contingency. So we're gonna do a rehab loan, meaning that we're gonna get a loan from a Harmony lender for the purchase. We're gonna bring down to the table 10%, plus they can also give you money for the rehab, 100% for the rehab. So we're gonna do 90% LTV. So most Harmony lenders are gonna have you put down 10%. Okay, so right here, 90% LTV, and we're gonna scroll down. Okay, so this cash transaction. This is not a cash transaction because you're using a Harmony lender. If you were to use a private money lender, then it would be considered a cash transaction, or if you bring your own cash, okay? Now we're gonna scroll down to prorations, okay? That's another less important, but you always need to pay attention to these. So proration, taxes are paid in arrears. Taxes, property taxes go up every single year. So typically, we like to get 110% tax proration, between 105 to 110%, because property taxes go up at least 5%. So that is why you want to account for that, because again, taxes are paid in arrears. Okay. Attorney review. This is what you don't want to give up. So you have 5 business days to do an inspection and the attorney to review the contract. You never want to give this up. Okay. Super, super important. This is where you have the option in line 155, waiver of professional inspections. Okay. You never want to waive that option, because this is sort of like your insurance policy when you bring an inspector to tell you what's wrong with the property, the big ticket items that you need to be aware of. Okay. Now let's scroll down to the bottom of the offer. So these are primarily the most important. We're going to find below the as is clause. So if you decide to buy the property as is, then you're going to need to initial the following section. It's coming up down here. Okay, right here, line 484. And since I clicked on as is, it already has my initials. Okay, as is condition. So again, what it means is that you're not getting any credits from the seller, despite any material defects that you find in the inspection. And that's pretty much it. The last page of the contract will have your company name, your brokerage, you're using a broker, a buyer's broker, your attorney, we use Gary Davidson, and then your lender. Okay, all the information right here, and then the information of the listing agent. So we generate these for you in seconds. So you either, you're gonna have these generated once you verbally negotiated and locked the deal. Okay, and then once you generate the offer, you can either send it to the listing agent, or if you have a broker, then you can have your broker submit this offer on your behalf. Okay, super, super simple. But again, in a nutshell, once the numbers make sense, where you're paying for the property and you've done your due diligence on the rehab, then the next step is to verbally negotiate the deal with the listing agent or with the seller directly. Once you have that, then you put it in writing. Again, never make an offer in writing, because 100% of the times you'll get it wrong. Either too low, too high, wrong terms, wrong earnest money, wrong closing date, wrong price, wrong proration, wrong everything. Okay, so you always want to talk terms with the listing agent first. Okay, get an accepted verbal agreement, and then you put it in writing right away. Okay, to lock the deal. Are there any questions so far based on what we've discussed? Do private money lenders charge high interest rates? Yeah, absolutely. So hard money lenders are going to charge you anywhere between 9 to 12%. Private money lenders are going to charge at least 12%, 11 to 12%. Okay. So yeah, absolutely. Private money lenders are more expensive. They're both asset-based, so they're going to be looking at the deal. The main difference is that private money lenders can give you the money upfront for the purchase and the rehab, whereas hard money lenders are going to give you 90% of the purchase, and they're going to give you the rehab money on installments, but you need to front the money for the rehab first. So that's the big difference. You're going to need to have more reserves with the hard money lender. They're going to need to do an appraisal on the property. Private money lenders do not require an appraisal on the property. So great question. Are there any other questions regarding what it takes to get your offer accepted?
Yes, I got a question. Who pays for the inspection?
The buyer. So if you're the buyer, you're going to pay for the inspection. It's about $400, and they give you a written report. So you will definitely have to pay for it. And it's one of the best investments that you can ever make. Okay, we've backed out of deals that we believe it didn't need much work, but once we did the inspection, we found major foundation issues. We found major electrical issues. plumbing issues. So it's super important for you to never give up the inspection attorney review period. It's only 5 days, 5 business days once you get the offer accepted. Great question. Anybody else?
And you say the inspection that'll cost you about what, 400 or 500, or
Yes.
doesn't matter, or
400 or 500. Yeah, it's about 400 or 500.
Okay.
And
okay, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
No problem. Here in Chicago DealVault, we have all the resources. So if I go to preferred partners, we have inspectors. So if you go to inspectors, home inspectors, here we have George from First Advantage Home Inspectors. So he charges about $375, $400. And we have Harmony Lenders. We have over 280 preferred partners that you can leverage, okay? From construction to attorneys, inspectors, brokers, you name it. So you have them all right here. But again, to get the offer accepted, please always keep in mind that you need to negotiate it verbally. Number one, once you're ready, done all your due diligence, understand the numbers, making sure that you have a good idea of what it would take to do the rehab, and the ARV. So you need 3 numbers. You need the ARV, you need the rehab, and obviously you already know the purchase price. But again, to make your offer with credibility, you need to include a proof of funds or a pre-approval letter from a lender. So if you haven't done that, you need to do that. Okay, you need to reach out to Harmony Lenders. They're going to ask you for your liquidity. They're going to run your credit, and they can issue a pre-approval letter. So at least you're in their system. So when you get an offer accepted, then underwriting is going to be quicker. And not only that, but they're going to give you that letter stating that you qualify for, let's say, a $200,000 loan that you're going to include with your offer. So you're going to add credibility that you're a serious buyer. Okay. Just submitting an offer without an approval letter means nothing, okay? Okay, another question is creating a company, Inc. kind of untold first step? Okay, so absolutely. So you need to create a company. To create a company is super simple. It takes about 5 business days. So we have resources here to create. So we use right here. Andrew Thomas has created a couple of entities for us from ChicagoDealVault. And you also have online resources. One of my favorite ones is, I believe it's Swift. Let me look this up. I'll get that. I'll pull it up in just a second. We have a couple of resources. Phil, can you send me the links for the online resources to create a company? Again, you're going to spend about $500-600 to create a company. If you still don't have that one, it's super important to create your own company for asset protection purposes, to take advantage of tax depreciation, which is the biggest tax benefit, and for funding purposes. Okay, you're going to get funding primarily under your company name because it's less liability for lenders. Okay, whereas if they give you the money under your name, there's more liabilities. Not only that, the foreclosure process for an individual can take up to 2 years or more, whereas for the entity, they can foreclose on the property in as little as 6 months. Okay, so super important to create that entity. Another question is, can we pursue a property currently in contingent on Redfin? Not really, because it's already on the contract. So what you can do is reach out to the listing agent and say, hey, I'm interested in making an offer. If your current deal falls through the cracks, I want to be your backup offer. Okay, so you can always reach out but there's nothing that you can do, okay? That deal needs to fall through the cracks before your backup offer can be considered. So you can do that. So yeah, even if you make a bigger offer, you cannot steal the deal. Once a property is contingent, there's nothing you can do about it. What are some of the tips to reduce the rehab cost without compromising on the quality? So the biggest, I would say, you cannot cut corners, Kathy. What some people do is they don't pull permits, and that's a big no-no, okay? They can save money there, but here with the rehab, you cannot cut corners. I've heard people, I mean, some investors make the rehab cheaper. I'm going to tell you how they do it, but it backfires big time. They don't hire qualified contractors. So instead of hiring a licensed plumber, licensed electrician, or a GC, they hire handymen to do rehabs. Handymen do not know the code, so they do things not up to code. They don't pull permits, so that can backfire big time. So you never want to cut corners. You always need to hire licensed plumbers, electricians, and that is not cheap, unfortunately. The way we save money is on the quality of the materials. We never buy the high end. We never buy the cheap. We always go the middle. Okay, that's how we can save money just by buying the middle of the line. Okay, we never go on the high end. Many people do spend a lot of money on the high end, but you don't need to unless you're buying properties in a very desirable neighborhoods like A neighborhoods. But if you're sticking to the bread and butter B, C neighborhoods, you don't need to go the high end. Okay, so it depends on what neighborhood you're buying the property. So unfortunately, there's nothing to cut down on the rehab expenses. The only thing that you can save money on, I'm going to tell you. So one, go the middle of the quality for the materials. Two, don't overdo. For instance, many investors do a lot of recessed lighting. You don't need to do a lot of recessed lighting throughout the entire property. Only do recessed lighting in the kitchen, perhaps living room, and that's about it. Don't do recessed lighting in the bedrooms, okay? Another way to save money is if you don't need to upgrade systems that are still in working condition, like the electric system. If it's still in working condition, you don't need to upgrade a service panel unless it's required, unless you are overcharging the existing panel, then do so. But other than that, you don't need to. You don't need to buy top of the line HVAC system. Again, you go the middle route. So on the HVAC system, if you're gonna do, let's say, AC, right, you need to buy the right size for the square footage of the property. Okay, so don't overbuy AC or condensers, water heaters. Another way that to save money is on resurfacing, for instance, flooring. So you don't need to rip everything apart if you can still reuse the same flooring. All you need to do is sand it, varnish it, and then finish the flooring. So if you can do that, then that's another way for you to save money. But again, you don't save money on the quality, right? So you just save money on how much you're gonna do, not overdoing the rehab, right? And then put money where it's gonna make you double the back end value. Example, kitchen and bathrooms. That's where you need to put the money in, okay? You don't wanna save money on kitchens and bathrooms. That's going to increase the back end value by twice as much, okay? What else? Okay, you always need to do light fixtures. Don't go crazy and do, for instance, ceiling fans. You can just do lamps, okay? That's another way to save money. Recessed lighting in certain places, as I mentioned. And those are the things that I can think of, okay, for you to keep the rehab under budget. But again, use qualified contractors, go the middle road on the quality, not the cheapest, for sure, not the most expensive. Anybody else? Great questions. Anybody else? So we have Elena on the line. Elena recently bought a property. Elena, can you share with the team what it took for you to get that accepted, to get that offer accepted?
Hi, Hugo. Yes, so I mean, the seller, I did a couple of his roofs, so he didn't want to deal with the tenants because he's an old man, and he said he was just gonna sell the property. So I talked to him because I wanted to rent an office space, and he said, "You want to buy the property?" So I said yes, and I got a great deal. The property, the comps are like 400, 380 around the area, and he's gonna sell. I mean, we already did everything for 270, and also he's gonna finance it. So in 2 years, I'm supposed to pay everything, and I just did a down payment of 50,000. And it's a two unit building, and with a new roof, and we're gonna do the siding with the insurance, and also it needs just like cosmetic, floors, paint, and kitchen, and that's about it.
Perfect. So it seems like you negotiated the offer verbally before you put it in writing.
Yes.
You had already built rapport. You negotiated the offer to the seller's terms, which were very attractive to you as well. So that's what it takes to get it accepted. Okay. So in this case, she was very lucky that the seller was able to finance the transaction interest-free, right?
Yes.
So you cannot beat that, like free money. So
Yeah.
that was just amazing.
But I did learn a lot with you, Hugo. I did real estate in 2006, and I stopped doing that. And then like a year ago, I joined DealVault, and I learned a lot. And thanks to you, I got this deal because I'm always calling you or your wife, asking questions, and thank you for always helping.
Oh, thank you. Our pleasure. By the way, friends, Elena does roof siding, and she's done so much work for us. She saved us so much money. So if you need somebody to help you with roof siding, Elena is the best resource for it. And she's also on their preferred partners on the roofs. So you can find her contact information there. Thank you, Elena, for sharing your success story, and congratulations again.
Thank you. I will post pictures as soon as I finish fixing the kitchen on the apartments.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
Okay.
Are there any other questions on the line? Great questions, by the way, everyone. Anybody else? Kathy, Ram, anybody else? Any questions?
Hey Hugo, this is my first meeting. I'm
Okay.
just starting on the journey. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, reading books and making use of the resources online. So yeah, it's glad I could find the group here, and definitely looking forward to be more involved and make connections and actually make my first move.
That's awesome. Great, Ram, that you joined us. Quick question: do you have access to Chicago DealVault?
No, I do not. I just received the link on the group chat, so I'm going to sign up on that.
Okay, yeah, no, that'd be great. Phil, can you please share the contact information? Okay, perfect. He did already. Okay,
Yes.
and also I'm gonna post the link. So we have our website is DealVault Academy. Okay, so we meet every Sunday at 1 p.m. where we do deal analysis. Please check this out. We have two groups, the cash flow for those of you who are interested in doing flips and buy and holds, and the wholesale for those of you interested in wholesaling. Okay, so we go through about 10 modules each, and you're going to get to know people. You're going to be in a team, so it's going to be very, very good when it comes to networking, okay, and learning from each other. So it's super, super awesome. Like Ray is part of the wholesale group. He's doing deals. Elena is also part of the cash flow group. So please check that out. And then we're going to have a live event coming up in about 2 weeks. So please make sure that you mark your calendar. It is October 17 right here. So I'm going to paste the link on the chat. Please make sure that you come. It's going to be both live and virtual, but I hope to meet you all in person. So it's Sunday, October 17 in Oak Brook, DoubleTree. Okay, so please mark your calendar. Are there any other questions on the line? So fields and instructions on how you can get free access to DealVault, all our resources. And then if you're not part of any of these groups, join Sunday meeting at 1 p.m. Send us an email to support, and we'll be happy to send you the link for you to join the first meeting for free. Okay. So anybody else?
Hugo,
Hey, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is I just had a tip that a real estate agent gave me. The market is very competitive, and how can you make your offer stand out without giving away the store? And he said, I mean, you talked about putting in the tax proration at 110% of the previous year. He said, do it at 100, do it at 90, and make a point of telling the listing agent that you're doing that, because it's really probably a few $100s, but it makes your offer. It sounds like he said people are so sensitive about their taxes. It's a way to look really good without really giving that much up. So I just thought I'd share that.
That's a great point. Absolutely, because you're only giving up a couple of $100, and then it makes the offer a little bit more attractive for sure.
That's
Tax proration being at 100%. I've never seen it below 100%, but let's start somewhere, right? So 100%. Yeah, in fact, when we generated the contract, we have it default as 100%.
I saw that. But
yeah, the default is 100. So yeah, that's a great point. Thank you, Tony. Great point.
Just make sure, don't give it away for nothing. Make sure you make a big deal of how generous you're being, that no one else is going to give you a deal like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, great point. Hey, George, are you still working on that property to get it on the contract? I know you were negotiating with the seller. Were you able to get it in writing?
Wait.
George.
Oh, George. Okay.
So actually, yes, while we're working on it, they're going back and forth because I used a very simple form. So they actually emailed the docs tonight. So it was, so we'll sign the documents tonight, the contract, and I actually had a painter, carpenter come out also today to give me an estimate on the actual cost of what they're thinking, how much it's going to cost me. So I should have something in writing by tomorrow. So hopefully when we meet again, whatever, then I'll be able to tell you a little bit more. And actually, I was going to ask you, Hugo, so only in one of the rooms, like the living room or the dining room, whatever they call it in that house, there's hardwood floors, and they're a little older, but everywhere else, I pulled up the carpeting in the bedrooms, and they have plywood. So I wanted to know, I was going to just do luxury vinyl planking throughout the whole house and just go right over the hardwood flooring because just for the purpose of time and cost. Would you recommend that? And I'm thinking that I want to flip this house. And I talked to the HVAC person, and this was an older person, so they just had most of the systems were upgraded except for the electrical panel, but the air conditioning and heating unit were updated, so we could lay it sideways and put it up in the attic. So he says there's going to be very little sheet metal work to be done, but we could recycle that whole unit and we'll save a lot of money. So it'll be basically a few hours of work just to do some sheet metal. stuff, and then to relocate the furnace. But with vinyl planking, where do you recommend just to buy it at Home Depot, or do you recommend a different place? Do you have to go with a little bit nicer vinyl planking because if it's going to be a flip? What do you recommend?
We buy it from Home Depot. It's $3 a square foot, and then I can send you the link. I think we have it, so I can send you the one that we buy. It's waterproof, lifetime. It's amazing, and I do recommend to do it throughout for consistency purposes, especially if you only have a small area that is hardwood floors, and most of it is doesn't have any hardwood floors. Then do it throughout.
Okay.
It's going to be better for consistency. It's going to be cheaper. So yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
We can send you I can send you the link for that. It's $3 a square foot.
And actually, the seller is quite flexible with the terms for closing. So when I talked to the carpenter and the painter, they said they can't start till the beginning of November, and I said that'd be perfect because technically we're going to close on the last day of October. So this will work out perfectly in a sense where I'll just need to apply for permits, but they could get started on some of the work. We'll apply for permits right away, and we'll go from there.
Perfect, perfect. And then, so for the purpose of today's meeting, you were able to negotiate the deal verbally, right? Directly with the seller or the listing agent?
Yes, we negotiated. It took a little over 2 weeks. It's still on the market, whatever, on Redfin and Zillow and all the other locations. And it doesn't even say pending yet, even though we've been negotiating. We got a verbal commitment. We had to rework the contract a little bit today, so we'll sign off the disclosures, everything today, and then I'm assuming he'll change it over to contingent or pending, whatever, tomorrow or the next day, and we should be good to go. And I'm just working on. I had to waive, as you said, with taxes. I did 100% proration, but again, I'm buying it just slightly over the payoff of the first and second mortgage.
Okay.
And I thank you for the information you provided to me. That was helpful. But with the second mortgage, we still couldn't really drill down on that. So I actually had to go back to the agent to ask the seller if they could give me the payoff on the second and then add the first and second together. And I just went slightly over, like, I think it's not even $1,000 or close to $1,000 over the combined first and second mortgage to secure the deal.
That's awesome.
So I will get you better numbers after everything is all finalized, and I'll tell you exactly what the payoffs were on the first and second. So honestly, I'm happy I could change that third room. It was a utility room into a bedroom, and that'll bring up the value to from a 2-1 to a 3-1.
Yeah, that's going to be critical. That's going to add a lot of value.
Right.
So that's awesome. So this is a perfect example, friends, that George has been verbally negotiating. He got a verbal commitment, and he's getting everything in writing today or tomorrow. So if you and I were to make an offer on this property that is still active, we wouldn't go anywhere too far, right? Because whatever offer we make is going to be 100% wrong. Whereas George has been working, building rapport with the seller, offering exactly what they're looking for. So this is a perfect example of what it takes to get a property on the contract, building rapport, talking to the seller, listing agent, and then just putting in writing what you're already verbally committed to. So great job and congratulations, George.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
I kind of have this misconception or misunderstanding that the market has been so hot and properties are just selling in a day and 2 days, and it's really hard for at this time of the at this time, right, to get into the market and find a good property. That's something that's in the back of my head. It's not making me take an aggressive step.
Absolutely, it's a seller's market, but you need to actively continue to look. And then we had members like George, Elena, Ray, Sixto. They're all part of the cash flow group. They're making deals. We're making deals despite of this being a seller's market. So don't let that discourage you. Jump in, okay? Jump in. We're still doing transactions during COVID. So jump in because there's still people who need to sell and they're sort of desperate. Like Tony was mentioning, right, at the beginning of the presentation, I think he was still during COVID that he got an amazing deal, like 80, 90,000 below market price. So the best time to get in real estate was 10, 15 years ago. And the second best time is like now. Don't wait. You just need to make sure you stick to the numbers to get a great deal.
All right.
Thank you, Ram. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. We have another webinar, and then for sure mark your calendar for the live event on October 17th.